In the depths of space, beyond our current understanding, a new discovery challenges everything we thought we knew about the universe. The James Webb Space Telescope has revealed galaxies that appeared to exist before the universe began. This revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific community, raising a critical question: are our data wrong, or are our theories fundamentally flawed? Imagine looking through a telescope and seeing galaxies that shouldn't be there, galaxies that defy the laws of physics as we know them. The James Webb Space Telescope is showing us images that contradict our understanding of the universe and suggest that everything we thought we knew about its origins may be wrong. Mike Brown's discovery of evidence for a ninth planet in the solar system that challenges our understanding of planetary formation. Observation of trans-Neptunian objects, TNOs, with orbital anomalies that suggest the presence of another massive body. The unexpected discoveries of the James Webb Space Telescope of ancient galaxies that should not exist according to current cosmological models. The possible confirmation of these findings by the Vera C. Rubin Observatory could radically change our understanding of the universe. Something strange has been discovered beyond Pluto's orbit, and it's getting closer. A planet that may be the size of Earth will return to our solar system in thousands of years. At least that's what American scientist Mike Brown claims after finding evidence of a ninth planet in the far reaches of the solar system. This planet can be in an orbit that takes it beyond the limits of the solar system for thousands of years until it returns. The question of whether there is a Planet 9 in our solar system has puzzled scientists for decades. One of them has now managed to prove it. California Institute of Technology planetary astronomy professor Mike Brown and his colleague Konstantin Batygin are already studying strange objects hidden in the Kuiper belt. Two scientists have noticed some strange things. The dwarf planets in the Kuiper belt show exactly the same orbital anomalies that have already led to the discovery of other planets such as Neptune and Pluto. Mike Brown is also known in expert circles as the Pluto killer. Brown was instrumental in the decision to classify Pluto as a dwarf planet in 2006, removing it from the official list of planets. Since then, strictly speaking, Pluto is only a trans-Neptune object. This means that the Planet 9 website has been empty for almost 20 years. However, the myths and legends surrounding the second planet go back much further. There have always been rumors of Planet 10, Planet X, or some strange world that only appears every few thousand years. Now we have a breakthrough, and if Mike Brown is right, Planet 9 is headed our way right now. Brown and Batygin provide evidence. The Planet 9 hypothesis received another extreme boost in 2016 when researchers Brown and Batygin studied the unusual orbits of 6 trans-Neptunian objects. Trans-Neptunian objects, or TNOs for short, are a group of objects that lie outside the orbit of Neptune. These TNOs show a kind of agglomeration in their orbits, indicating the presence of a massive body due to its gravity. This object forces a kind of cavity into the orbits of small TNOs, and their orbits then converge strikingly. The target could be the 9th largest planet. Brown and Batygin worked for years on detailed mathematical models and carefully collected all available information about TNOs and their peculiarities. Extensive computer simulations then showed that the body they were looking for, if it is a planet, is about 10 times more massive than Earth and should orbit the Sun in a highly elliptical sequence. This orbit would be $400 to $800 from the Sun, which explains why the planet has not yet been directly observed. One orbit around the Sun can take this planet for up to 20,000 years, and its highly elliptical orbit takes it well beyond the boundaries of the solar system. This meant that it was simply not visible to previous generations of scientists and astronomers. The old astronomers could only see as far as Saturn with their simpler telescopes. Uranus did not become visible until 1781 thanks to better telescopes, and Neptune did not become visible until 1846. The myth behind Neptune has existed for as long as another mysterious planet has existed in our solar system. Today we know that the Kuiper belt originates beyond Neptune. The ribbon is about 3 billion kilometers wide and contains more than 100,000 individual objects. These regions of the solar system are already so far from the Sun that there is almost no light left. Even with modern telescopes, scientists struggle to detect minor planets or other strange objects like Arikoth. Because the ninth planet is so many thousands of years away from the Sun, it would be very faint and difficult to see even with modern telescopes. Until now, Brown and Badigian have relied on circumstantial evidence and have already succeeded in mathematically proving the existence of Planet 9. Now scientists are pinning all their hopes on the new telescope, which should start operating in a few years. Will the Vera C. Rubin Observatory find Planet 9? The existence of Planet 9 has already been mathematically proven, now we have to find out exactly where this planet is hiding. A telescope should be able to do that. The new Vera C. Rubin Observatory is currently under construction in the Chilean Andes. With its shiny new technology, this telescope scans the night sky in record time and could end the search for Planet 9. With its 8.4-meter telescope and lightning-fast, large-scale scans of the sky, this telescope will no longer miss very dark objects in our solar system. According to the initial plan, the Vera C. Rubin telescope will observe the movements and patterns of TNOs even more closely until the regions where Planet 9 is currently located can be determined. Brown and Badigian have already clearly narrowed down the areas, and there are high hopes that definitive proof will be available in a few years. Can you imagine that there are even more planets in our solar system that we didn't know about until now? We look at the edges of our solar system and find more and more alien stuff. Just 100 years ago, no one would have believed that there were dozens or maybe even hundreds of dwarf planets in the Kuiper belt. Occasional anomalies in the orbits of known planets such as Brown and his team in TNOs have led scientists to believe that there must be other planets in the system. In the mid-1800s, Urban Leverrier and John Couch Adams were working just as Brown and Badigian are today. In the mid-1800s, astronomers noticed that Uranus had deviated from its predicted orbit, suggesting that it was being influenced by an unknown mass. Urban Leverrier was a French mathematician and astronomer and a pioneer in the study of Uranus. He began to study the anomalies in detail from 1845 and, through complex calculations using Newton's theory of gravity, came to the conclusion that another planet existed. Around the same time, the English mathematician and astronomer John Couch Adams concluded that another planet existed independently of Leverrier. He also detected the presence of a planet in the deformations of the orbit of Uranus. Finally, Leverrier managed to make an almost exact mathematical prediction about the location of this unknown planet, and soon after, the German astronomer Johann Gottfried Galle was able to see Neptune very close to Leverrier's predicted location. This discovery was a triumphant demonstration of the power of mathematical astronomy and is often used today as motivation to continue the search for Planet 9. A few decades later, a man named Percival Lowell became interested in the possibility of another planet. Neptune. He called this planet Planet X. Lowell's hypothesis was again based on the irregularities in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune. Convinced that the gravitational influence of an unknown planet was to blame, Lowell spent the rest of his life searching for Planet X. Although he did not discover the planet himself, his work laid the foundation for the discovery of Pluto. A young astronomer, Clyde Tombaugh, joined the Lowell-founded observatory in 1929 and made a successful career in 1930. Tombaugh used a photographic sky where he photographed the night sky and studied changes in the images. On February 18, 1930, he found a moving object on two photographic plates 6 days apart. Soon after, it was clear, we have Planet X, and today we know this object as Pluto. The discovery of Pluto was another stroke of astronomical genius. Now, another 100 years later, some scientists are once again looking for a planet that no one has seen before, but whose influence astronomers can detect. The 19th-century example of the hypothetical planet Vulcan shows that this kind of astronomy does not always lead to success. In the 19th century, astronomers noticed a deviation in the orbit of Mercury. The exact position of Mercury deviated slightly from the predictions based on Newton's theory of gravity. Again, it was Urban Leverrier who suspected that an unknown planet between Mercury and the Sun could be responsible for these orbital anomalies. He named this hypothetical planet Vulcan. Many astronomers then searched for Vulcan, and some even claimed to have spotted it. Despite many reports from around the world, Vulcan has never been definitively proven. The anomalies of Mercury's orbit remained an unsolved mystery for a long time until Albert Einstein published his general theory of relativity in 1915. Einstein's theory describes how massive objects bend spacetime, which affects the motion of the planets. Einstein showed that the gravitational influence of the Sun, which is particularly strong near Mercury, bends spacetime to such an extent that it could explain the observed deviations in the orbit of Mercury. An additional planet was not needed in this case to explain the anomalies. Are KBO's Planet 9? Are you already looking forward to the day when Planet 9 gets confirmation and the first images? Well, that victory is still not so certain, because some scientists have shown that orbital deviations can be explained in other ways. KBOs, or Kuiper Belt objects, are a special subclass of TNOs and are located in the Kuiper Belt, a ring-shaped region that extends approximately 30 to 50 Australian dollars from the Sun. The best-known KBOs are the dwarf planets Pluto, Haumea, Makemake and Eris. These objects are composed primarily of frozen materials such as water, ammonia, and methane, and range in size from small, distorted pieces of rock to large dwarf planets. There are theories that suggest that KBOs may themselves cause orbital anomalies observed in the outer solar system. These theories do not require a hypothetical ninth planet. They are based on the idea that the gravitational effects of many KBOs, especially the more massive ones like Pluto and Arisen, can together be sufficient to explain the unusual orbits of trans-Neptunian objects. Computer simulations and mathematical models have shown that the collective gravity of these KBOs can be strong enough to influence the orbits of smaller TNOs and cause the observed clusters and anomalies. Neil deGrasse Tyson, a renowned astrophysicist, said, "We have galaxies in the dark ages that shouldn't be there." So what's wrong? Is the data wrong or are our theories wrong? A serious problem has arisen. The James Webb Space Telescope shows us that there are objects in the observable universe that are older than the universe itself and can be seen in telescope images. We see rows and rows of galaxies that if we follow the old standard models of physics and cosmology, they must have formed long before the Big Bang. There is a flaw in our system and everything we thought about the universe and everything we calculated is wrong. Cosmos, the infinite mysteries of the universe and science has an exciting time. Never before have we had so much evidence that many of our old theories are wrong. They must be wrong because the Webb telescope clearly shows us things that according to these theories should not exist. We are at the beginning of a new worldview, and it is possible that our view of science and matter will completely change again. Officially, the oldest galaxy discovered by the James Webb Space Telescope is called JWST 13-0. This galaxy existed approximately 330 million years after the Big Bang and is one of the earliest and most distant known galaxies. The galaxy was discovered as part of the JWST Advanced Deep Extragalactic Survey, JADES for short. Through this program, scientists try to study the universe as it was during the first 100 million years after the supposed Big Bang. In fact, it is a miracle or a silly coincidence that we can observe the universe as it was long ago. Light takes time to travel through space, and today, thanks to advanced technologies like the James Webb Telescope, we can see light that has traveled through the universe for millions or billions of years. With the help of telescopes, we can always see traces of the past. Even light from our nearest stellar neighbors takes years or decades to reach us. Is it by chance that we can see galaxies like JWST 13-0 and therefore be able to understand the origin of the universe and study those distant ages? Perhaps the universe is built this way precisely because we are meant to explore it, and perhaps the universe itself is what made itself this way. If so, the universe is playing tricks on us scientists or saying, "Hey, you weren't looking very closely." Perhaps some intelligence in the cosmos is now corrupting all Earthlings who, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, think so seriously about the cosmos, its origins, and the evolution of matter. Galaxies in the dark ages that cannot exist. Let's think for a moment about how scientists have imagined the universe until now. Let's say there is a single starting point where the undefined potential was created in one fell swoop, the Big Bang. Since then, the the universe has expanded into what is said to have been just an indefinite void before the universe began. The universe is space, and space grows as the universe expands. After the Big Bang, it was assumed to be something like an extremely hot element, gases, heat, and loose particles flying around. Although the universe already cooled considerably in the first seconds, it took several hundred years before the first solid bodies were formed. Until what scientists call reionization, the universe was a dark and impenetrable place. A change in molecular structure later made the universe transparent to light. This time coincides with the birth of the first stars in galaxies, because they were the first stars that ionized the surrounding hydrogen gas and thereby illuminated the universe. Previous calculations showed that the universe must be nearly 1 billion years old at this point. But the JWST 13-0 galaxy already existed about 330 million years after the Big Bang, and it is not alone. These pictures shocked everyone. It's amazing how many ancient galaxies were found in Webb's first deep images, dozens, and some scientists are talking about hundreds or thousands of galaxies like JWST 13-0 that existed so close to the Big Bang that they shouldn't have really exists. Galaxies of this size and luminosity take billions of years to develop. As Neil deGrasse Tyson said, after the first measurements, some scientists assumed that the new telescope was defective. But then the truth came out, more and more research groups were able to confirm the results, and verification also showed that Webb worked perfectly. The telescope just didn't show scientists what they expected. The universe was probably brightly lit during the Dark Ages, perhaps with as many galaxies as there are today. Since these shocking truths, we have had a major crisis in cosmology. Scientists who have long doubted the Big Bang welcome the new facts, while others despair. However, JWST 14-0 is impossible. It gets worse because Webb doesn't stop looking for crazy things in the universe. The galaxy JWST 14-0 existed 290 million years after the Big Bang, and although the existence of these galaxies has not yet been officially confirmed, we can be sure that it is not the oldest galaxy in the universe. Some research groups have reported finding galaxies at redshifts of 20 and perhaps even slightly higher. JWST 14-0 brought out other wonderful things. The galaxy is more than 1,600 light-years across, and its brightness is not caused by a supermassive black hole, but by young stars. This observation is interesting because there are probably many young stars in the galaxy. However, they are too numerous and too complex for us to see true baby galaxies that fit the old cosmological worldview. The first galaxies should be wild star clusters, not perfectly structured galaxies. Scientists face an unsolved mystery about its shape, as complex shapes such as spirals, disks, spheres and other shapes are thought to be formed by the merger of countless smaller star clusters. As soon as scientists get over this shock, the next unlikely galactic candidate arrives. JWST 14-1 is at least as young or old as its sister galaxy, indicating that there are even more old galaxies. This raises the question of what the researchers will do with all these results. At the moment they are still studying the results. Several research groups must independently confirm the age of the galaxies before the discovery can be considered official and real. Some researchers have already worked on new explanatory models and presented versions of old theories. Canadian scientist Rendra Gupta has probably shown that the universe can be as old as 26.7 billion years. If we change some values and take into account the dynamics of Newtonian physics. Others, such as scientist John Mather, who is also the project manager of the entire James Webb mission, believe that the explanation lies in earlier star formation. Mather thinks we need to adjust our picture of when the first stars and galaxies formed. But can it really be that the universe launched stars into space en masse and then arranged them perfectly? We know of so-called starburst galaxies, which produce an extremely large number of stars in an extremely short time, but these galaxies are physical exceptions and cannot be the mathematical norm in the early universe. This leaves the idea that the universe is infinite and that there was never a beginning. But how did scientists invent the Big Bang? In general, we can thank two researchers for the old standard image of space, the American Edwin Hubble and the Belgian Georges Lemaitre. Hubble studied the first newly discovered galaxies in the 1920s. It was such an exciting time as we are living through again today. Before that, humanity thought that the Milky Way was the universe. It must have been shocking to see beyond the edges of the Milky Way with ever-evolving telescopes and find more and more galaxies there. The world suddenly changed then too. Hubble studied the newly discovered galaxies and was surprised to find that galaxies far away from us are moving away from us at a certain rate. This is how Hubble first discovered the expansion of the universe. Belgian priest and scientist Lemaitre has already found evidence that the universe was created by an event and is not infinite. He put one and one together and came up with the idea that the universe has been drifting apart since the Big Bang and is therefore growing and growing. How long ago this big explosion happened has been calculated many times and the number has also been corrected many times. However, it always lasted about 13 to 13.8 billion years. Maybe we made a mistake here. Rendra Gupta's calculation shows that other approaches are possible, and science must now face these new ideas. 100 years ago we experienced a revolution similar to the one we are experiencing now, and this revolution will probably not be the last science will experience. Who knows how many people will see or experience the universe in another 100 or 1,000 years? Will we ever know the whole truth? Some scientists are sure that the universe is physically and mathematically completely comprehensible and describable. Others believe that the universe can be so changeable and so fantastic that we could never force it into certain frameworks or patterns with our scientific methods. Webb's observations indicate that there are other previously unknown forms of energy or matter in the universe. It is also possible that large and physical phenomena change over time. If so, our chances of understanding the universe through measurements and numbers are slim. It remains, however, to examine space as we now see it, and to do so as impartially as possible. Our science has now reached a dead end and a whole new era is upon us which we are delighted to continue.